All right, we are back again with another 3 a.m. Coney. I am your co-host, Matt Roden. We have our other co-host from Chicago, Lukas Moore. Lukas, how are you doing?
Doing good. I say living in Chicago and from
Living, surviving Chicago?
No, actually it's summer and it's a really cool city during the summer. I mean, I have like literally this week there's 3 street festivals within walking distance, a music festival. They party a lot here. So it's a good time.
That sounds better than the time that I lived in Chicago and went to school there for a semester, moved in during a blizzard, and left right before spring. So I got to experience the part of Chicago where you walk outside and your eyes
Yeah.
freeze
That's when all the people that live
from
in
the
Lincoln
wind.
Park, that's when all the people that live in Lincoln Park that have all the money, Matt, that's when they leave the city. That's when
Like go to
they're
some beach house and then come back.
Yeah, like I just there's some friends I know at my job that they have enough money. They go places during that time and they come back and they're in such a good mood. And I'm like, why are you in such a good mood? Oh, I was just in Florida. Oh, that's why. Because nobody else is in a good mood. If you've got to
Right.
stay here, oh, with that
Yeah.
snow, it's
You
just
you survive the Chicago winters and you're just tired for the entire rest of the year. You just go, oh, all right. Well, I survived that. Now,
well, that's why people do so much when it's warm because they're like, time's running out. Let's go. Let's
yeah,
party. When September gets here, snow's hitting the ground. Let's go. Like,
we're not going to want to be outside. No, I love summer. I love summer.
oh yeah, summer's the best, and summer's great in Cincinnati as well. I'm sure that you guys are all back to normal with music festivals and such.
Well, I mean, I had like Bunbury Music Festival is
Yep.
usually down at Smalley Park at the Banks, and that was canceled very early on this year. That's usually in June, and I look forward to that. Um, I'm going to be going to a Day to Remember concert at the new outdoor at the Banks venue. I forget what it's called, Iconic or something like that. I'll be doing that in September. I am very excited to be back in concert and festival form.
Yeah, I mean, Bunbury was always great. I used to cover that for the radio station I used to work for.
There you go. I
And
went every year.
cover it, go do a 3-minute interview with one of the low level bands, send that back to the radio station, do a couple, hey, we're here at Bunbury. It took 5 minutes, and then we drink and just sit on the banks and listen
And
to
the
the
rest of the time is yours.
Yeah, that's what covering it means in radio when the
There you
station's
go.
a couple hours away. So
That's perfect, though. Oh, I miss it. I miss it. Lollapalooza, I think, is happening. Is that now?
uh,
This
no,
this weekend? Next weekend?
I believe. So
Yeah,
it's
that's. I've been to that. I've been to that 3 times. I went to the one time that they did the 4-day Lollapalooza, and I almost did not survive that. That's 4. That's 3 days is too many days.
Yeah, we'll see if we make it out to Lala. We might. It's just I don't know if the prices are inflated this year, but it's a tough ticket to get in right now, especially
Yeah,
coming out of the pandemic, especially because they announced it so early that it was happening. I mean, people have been excited for this for a long time, so
yeah.
we'll see. But we're going to the free music festival that's today, so
There you go.
we'll enjoy that. We'll see if there's anything good at all there, or if it's just a nice local artist. But here in Chicago, the beautiful thing is the street performers, they're really good. I mean, you hear one guy, he carries this speaker around, he's got a microphone, and he just stands downtown, and he's got a beautiful voice, and he's just sitting there singing, and that's his full-time job because so many people drop like 10s and 20s in there because he's that good. So that's what he does all the time. He's got like 10,000 Instagram followers. I wish I knew his name.
Dang.
I'd
There
shout him
you
out.
go. Yeah, give him. I mean, we can't shout you out, but if you're in Chicago, there's that guy. All we have in Cincinnati are just the guys with the broken drumsticks and the bucket
Yep.
that are just. And I'm like, I'm trying to. Is it like, are you scatting with it? Why is it so offbeat? But it's
Yeah, it's
all right.
cities are great. I mean, cities are great. A lot of interesting characters, and in summer especially because you're not running from building to building, protecting yourself from the cold. You're just enjoying it. Uh,
Well, we can transition that into the first thing that I forgot I wanted to talk about, which was that the Boston Globe ranked Cincinnati last in terms of tailgating for NFL fans. What do you think about that?
They've never been to Paul Brown Stadium, and they wrote that article.
Well, they gave Montgomery Inn a shout out, so they obviously Googled it.
Yeah,
Food
maybe
Cincinnati.
Googled it. I don't know. It's just like if you've ever gone to a Bengals game, is Montgomery Inn ever really connected to that? Other than if you make a plan to go to Montgomery Inn and then you go to the like, it's got to be. It's not like he pretended like it was a thing attached to the stadium.
Right.
Like, oh, you go to the Montgomery Inn and then you're 2 skips and a jump away from Paul Brown Stadium. Like,
It's a few more jumps than that. I think Montgomery Inn is more of like if that's your family's tradition. Like,
yeah,
oh, pops will come down and we'll always go to Montgomery Inn and then go to the Bengals game.
yeah, because we have this same
Not the
parking area
tailgating
that we
scene.
paid for, and we're relying on getting there. But like, especially like me, I always drove in from Springfield down. I mean, no Montgomery Inn. You're just trying to find the cheapest parking that's a walking distance from the stadium.
Yeah.
But guess what? If you park in the cheap parking, that mile walk to the stadium, you pass an insane amount of tailgating. I mean, everybody's tailgating left and right. I mean, they're under the bridge, and then you see the fan bus that's always there to the right, and there's fans.
Start at Longworth Hall and come all the way over to, yeah.
Yeah, it's tailgate city out there. Like I never understood that. And it just looks like a normal NFL game to me because I've been to Cleveland Browns games and there was not as much. Now, maybe I took the wrong walk around the stadium, and it was also like 16 degrees that day, so a little unfair to Cleveland.
That's normal in Cleveland, isn't it?
Yeah, but the areas, it looked like that they would have the same level of tailgating that we do in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, to me, and the tailgating around Soldier Field, like it's literally only around the stadium because there's a lake next to it. The tailgating around Heinz Field, I've been around Heinz Field. It's a ways away. Honestly, if you want to talk about tailgating on a walk into a stadium, Paul Brown Stadium, in terms of the 6 or 7 NFL venues I've been to, it's better than all those. Now, is it as fancy of a tailgating space for media people? No. But it's raw, it's natural, it's people out of the back of their trucks, out of the back of their vans that they painted with Bengals stuff. It's been painted that way since 1985. So I think it's more authentic, it's more real, it's more football, it's more Midwestern.
That was my thought as well when I saw that. It was kind of a like tailgating and fans, like that's the high point of our city. The fact that we are so passionate and we continue to come out to tailgate, like the Bengals as a team might not put the best team on the field. It might not be the most exciting game, but tailgating, like calling the fans out, that's not something. Like tailgating just explodes outside of the city, and it's just outside of the stadium. It's all over because they don't have that with just one designated area.
Well, and this is why there's so much venom spewed at Mike Brown, because the way he owns the team doesn't represent the way the city cares about the team, right? And the media kind of confuses the two to where, oh, Mike Brown owns it cheap and he doesn't really care. They must not make a lot of money. And so the fans must not care, and it must just be this dead area for football. But if you look at all the other fan bases in the city, FC Cincinnati was famous for a walk to the stadium, which is one of the most insane things in soccer in the world. People in the Netherlands were jealous of it. People in Germany don't have that type of stuff, right? That's a MLS team. You don't think those people care about their NFL team? Like just, you should not confuse the two. I'm just sad that people would write that type of an article. It's a click getter. I get it. But actually go to all the stadiums if you're going to write something like that, because I would never comment. I would never comment on the fan experience around Gillette Stadium or down in Jacksonville without actually going to those places.
Right. Exactly. All right. That's a good start. Let's do 5 things in a rant. Let's start with, let's see, we're at 8 minutes 17 there. Let's start with the Reds over 500. Best record All-Star break since
2014, which is the last time this team made the playoffs. I will not sit here and say 2020 was a playoff berth. It was an expanded postseason, and it was a 60-game season. Now, could that team have made the playoffs in a normal year? Maybe, but that's speculation. The only thing I'm counting from 2020 is the Dodgers World Series, in my mind. The stats are thrown off. They're weird. It's half seasons. I'll give credit to MVPs and Cy Youngs too, because the award was given And I don't really like taking that away. They were the best in the season. But in terms of how I judge the Reds, I mean, are we really going to sit here as a fan base and say 2020 was our last playoff appearance when it was an expanded field that you'll never see again? And
Asterisks. Put an asterisk on it.
they didn't score in the postseason. So
That should be the number one. If you don't score a single point in the postseason, the other team got to bye.
Yeah, essentially, it's what happened with Atlanta.
That's what happened.
So this is the best Reds team since 2014 because of the way the pandemic kind of messed up the 2020 season, which had a lot of potential in it, which had Trevor Bauer in the rotation. We never got to see that truly develop into something that was special. But this team, best record at the break since 2014. Tough loss to the Brewers to start, but they play the Brewers, the Mets, and then they've got division opponents stacked on top of it. They don't play the National League West. It is a favorable stretch for the team that if they're good enough to win the division, it sets up for them to win the division. But this is the most important stretch of the season because over the next 15 days, Matt, if they're successful above 500, pushing the Brewers 3 or 4 games back, hanging in there in the wild card race, the team is going to buy at the deadline, at least add some bullpen depth, maybe a shortstop. And that is enough to maybe push the Brewers, if they have a bad injury luck or something happens, and steal the division crown come September.
Yep, and that is exactly what we need to watch out for, is how they're going to handle the next 2 to 4 series. All right, let's switch over to Nick and Jesse, All-Stars, and the Home Run Derby. Did you watch those games?
I watched the Home Run Derby. I didn't watch the All-Star game. All-Star games I really don't tend to watch. Because they're not – baseball's is closest because you get to see these cool one-on-one situations.
Yeah.
But I'm never super attracted to them. But the Home Run Derby was just a disaster in terms of a television product. I'm sure it was great for the people in the stadium, but for us at home, it was like
yeah, every second.
Where is it at? Like, it's too much. It was too much for my eyes and head, and the counter wasn't right. I had no idea what was going on. So what I did was I just started watching the swing of the batter. That's it. That's all I did.
Yeah. You had the guy off to the side. It was like, okay, stop. No. Okay, go. Okay, wait, it didn't hit yet, but I think it's going to hit one of the children in the outfield. Oh, okay, wait, they're hurt. Let's go ahead and pause the clock. Okay, and then we'll come back. And okay, now go ahead. It was chaos, and the camera angles were not showing the ball half the time. You had the 3 different cameras that were all showing the batter from different sides, and then it would just cut to someone in the stands. It just showed a section of the stands, and they were all just like looking to the left, like looking for the ball. And I mean, I like the format. I think they need to figure out how to make that. I like that it's faster, but they need to figure out how to make that better for TV.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way. Because my background, one of the degrees I have, no matter, I don't know what a degree is worth these days, but one of the degrees I have is live sports production, right?
Something.
So I know right where the cameras are set up. I've worked baseball games before. Unless you come up with an idea that I have not thought of, because I was watching that broadcast. How do we fix this?
Yeah.
My idea was, hey, let's use the home plate camera and go a super wide shot. That's like the only way you could actually show where the ball.
They had the catcher cam. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, but is that sustainable for a whole broadcast that's going to get people engaged? Maybe. And then maybe a lot more on the ground cameras. I mean, maybe get right up down the baseline, close to Shohei, some interesting angles that you wouldn't get in a normal baseball game. That's how you could maybe make it work. But to make the Derby, remember how exciting the Derby was with Todd Frazier? Oh, my gosh. That format of having to wait for the ball to land really helps the TV product, because then they reset and they just film it like a regular game. It's angles we're used to. It's camera cuts we're used to. The directors are used to it. The cameramen are used to it. And this format is not what baseball's like, where there's 3 or 4 baseballs in the air at one time.
Yeah, and you have the announcers going, I think that one's gone. Maybe that's 2 in a row. Oh, he missed that. Wait, the other one he went, and they can't keep up.
I get the AI StatCast is tracking it just fine, but we're not, and we're the ones that want to watch it, right? So it was more fun for the players. It was faster. It was probably amazing in the stadium. I mean,
Yep.
amazing in the stadium, but it's a television product at the end of the day, and you got to make it appealing for eyes. And I think they need to switch back to waiting for the ball to land and just enforce that rule a little better.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's say Reds. You said you went to the one of the Milwaukee games.
Yeah, I went to the Saturday game. Yeah, the Saturday game. It was 4-3 when Suarez hit that home run right center
Yep.
field off of Josh Hader. And,
Nice.
Nicky C, he also blasted that 3-run bomb. And listen, I've watched so much baseball in my life, Matt, especially from that angle because we were sitting above the press box right behind home plate. I've
Okay.
watched so many baseball games from that angle, and I've watched so many baseball games in person in general that when a ball is really hit, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are like this as well. If you've watched enough baseball, a lot of people that have watched baseball into their 40s and 50s, as soon as that ball's hit, you can tell by the swing and the sound
Sound off the bat.
that's gone. And I don't often get fooled by a fly ball, right? If a ball's off the bat and I know it's just going to be caught, I'm usually just sitting down. I don't even react to it. And that Nick one, I was the only person in my section that thought that was out. Because as soon as he hit it, I was like, gone. I stand up and this fan behind me goes, no way. And I'm like, no, see ya. See ya. And the ball
Watch
just
it.
keeps going and going. And he's like, no, no, no. And then it's out. And I'm like, yeah. The problem is the Brewers have, and I think I'm at 8, 9, or 10 ballparks, one of the two in terms of major league. But
Okay.
I've been all over minor league baseball, all over college baseball. And the Brewers have the best tailgating experience in terms of their parking lot for a baseball team. It was like an NFL game. How
Dang.
much those people were tailgating. And I don't know if it's UW kids or what's going on, or it was just all like college aged Brewers fans. And there was people way above me who had way too much to drink, Matt. And I was nice to the Brewers fans around me. I was never rude. I'm never rude at a ball game. I just cheer for my team very loudly. But this guy was flipping me off and he was spitting out of his mouth and the veins were out of his neck because he was so drunk. He's leaning over where his one friend is grabbing his shirt and he's like,
Oh, dang.
and I'm like, whoa, dude. And
You almost got into it.
yeah, well, and then he starts throwing beer and it's not hitting me. It's barely getting me, but it's hitting all the old Brewers fans around me.
Eh,
I had been friendly to them. And I'm like, hey, I'm just cheering for my own team. Like, I don't have anything against the Brewers or anything. I just think that guy's a jerk. And they called security on him. It was great. It was great. I got Brewers fans to call security
on one of their own.
on one of their own. That's how obnoxious he was being. Which, hey, if you're ever going to a road ballpark, don't cuss, don't swear, don't do anything like that. If you're like right down the line, you cheer hard and you talk smart baseball, like people are going to hate you and yet they can't do anything about it. And I think that's if Reds fans can be like that in all ballparks, we can annoy the crap out of every fan base in Major League Baseball.
So just the opposite of Steelers fans everywhere. Just if you do the opposite, then kill them with kindness.
Yeah, I don't want to say this on a Cincinnati sports podcast, but when I went to Heinz Field and was the only person in a bright orange Bengals jersey for what seemed like miles, they were incredibly, incredibly nice to me. So
Was that one of the games where they were expected to blow us out, or?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
See,
not,
I mean, it's super nice to be nice to people when you're kind of just like, oh, thanks for showing up.
well, I don't know if you remember, that was a game, it was like a 4th down and Andy like fell back and got hit. It was 2017, I think.
Okay.
And took the lead late 3rd quarter on a goal line play. Then I started to hear a little bit of chirping my way.
Yep.
And it started to shift. And I went, oh, they were just confident before the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. If they are a little more insecure, maybe they would have lashed out and been a little more
They
mean.
go, wait, no, we were supposed to win. The Bengals suck. What? Now I'm angry.
Hey, if the Bengals win the first game against the Steelers this year, and I wrote this on the Cincy Chronicle, I think they will. I think that it's the true turn of the rivalry. I think Vonn Bell knocked the intimidation factor right out of the Steelers with that hit. I really do. I think that's going to be a pinnacle moment in the rivalry's history.
Absolutely. That was the turning point. What the Bengals do with that momentum now, You had Ryan Finley and you had that.
If the
They have all the momentum if they keep it.
if the Bengals win a playoff game this year,
Mhm.
we should make a video of Vonn Bell hitting Juju, and then Bo Jackson, the ghost of Bo Jackson, just coming out of Juju's body and
Just
floating away. And
floating
it's
away.
like, that was it. That was the end of the curse. Vonn Bell knocked
We
it
did
right
it.
out of Juju.
Knocked it right out of Juju.
Just over. It's done. And that would be great. And that would be a great way to cap off what's been, a great summer.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
This is what I'm like. You remember last year, Matt.
Yeah.
Late July, summer's been going on. I've been in the sun. I haven't watched the
All
Bengals.
happy,
I haven't watched the Bengals
all
not be able to
optimism.
execute a trap play in over, 3 or 4 months. I'm all hope and optimism.
This is the happiest and hopefulest that we ever see you is
Yep.
right now in these months right before Bengals season.
Yeah, and then they're gonna, blow a game in September, and I'm just gonna be, and then the weather's gonna get worse.
Just chipping away. Just chipping away. Just there goes my happiness. There it goes.
And by November, I want to fire everybody and sell all my gear. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, Cincinnati sports are not only taking hits with the Bengals. Did you see that FC Cincinnati game
oh,
against the Crew where
I
hell
was
became
super
real?
excited for it. Super excited for it. It was the first FC Cincinnati game I've been excited for in a long, long
That
time.
was a big one. I was there.
Oh yeah, since their debut season, and up to nothing. I'm sure it was absolute jubilation in there, Matt. I mean, I bet it was just absolutely crazy. I mean, what was
25 seconds in. I barely had my beer and had finished my nachos or whatever the hell else I was eating. And I was like, oh, okay, look, the game's starting. We scored immediately. And the entire Bailey, I was over to the left side of the Bailey. The entire Bailey went insane. And that was one of the greatest starts outside of when I was at the bar and it was the U.S. World Cup game, like
versus
13
Ghana?
years ago. Yeah, that was immediately.
Yeah,
And it's just there's something about that like soccer, you're not expecting goals to happen that fast.
yeah.
And when you're like, oh, okay, the game started, they're going to play a little possession, move it up, and it was directly in front of us, juke the kid out, and it looked like he crossed it past the 6 and it just like missed, and then from right outside the box just hammered it, took 2 ricochets, still went in, and everyone went insane. The fact that we were up 2-0 after that was this is it. Like finally, here's the turning point for FC Cincinnati inside Tickle Stadium.
Well, an absolute laced balls like that, it's really only stuff you see in the MLS. What I love about the MLS is that in terms of if you took the midfielders and attacking players and you took all the MLS teams over into Europe, there would be some teams in terms of their midfield and attack that could actually compete like mid-tier, like in Ligue 1 in France.
Yeah.
And I try to say it like that just to be respectful. I really don't respect much else French, but Ligue 1.
It's fine.
Also, I say how I don't understand that pronunciation of one, but anyway, Ligue 1. There's some MLS teams, midfield and attack. They could play in the mid tiers of those leagues. They really could. LAFC, like Carlos Vela, is a really high quality player. He could be a guy that starts in the Premier League, really. So in terms of the midfield and attack, and we've seen Ibrahimovic and Messi wants to come to the MLS. It's top quality. So you see,
and it's moving up.
Like that are amazing, and it combines with putrid defense. I mean, the MLS has some of the worst defending I've ever seen. Jeff Cameron has to feel like, Matt, if I told you that you had to run a podcast company with only 13-year-olds, that's what Jeff Cameron feels like on the FC Cincinnati backline.
Trying to keep his defense.
I mean, he is holding the whole. I have never seen a more valuable center back to a team than Jeff Cameron is to FC Cincinnati right now.
Absolutely.
He is making every key tackle. He is making every key switch. He is doing all the right things. It feels like he's the only hope on every counterattack to stop it. And it's really incredible to see. It's not sustainable. You need a good back four. And so that's why we saw against Columbus, you can start bleeding goals, especially go up 2-0. You're like, let's get this win. Let's tighten up. FC Cincinnati cannot accept pressure over 80 minutes. When you do that, you're going to bleed goals because Jeff Cameron cannot do it all by himself. He's in his 30s.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't care how much he's played for the United States men's national team or his World Cup appearances. He's in his 30s. He's going to be able to do it in spots. And if you're on the attack, he can keep a clean sheet. And that's what FC Cincinnati's been doing so well is they press. They've been possessing the ball. I know they've been outpossessed, but they're getting behind the ball. They're making sure not too much pressure is coming to the back line. And I just think they accepted way too much pressure against Columbus when they went up 2-0. And we
went up 2-0 and had the double yellow, so they were up a man for a half plus.
Well,
still conceded 2 goals.
Columbus dirtied that game up. Because I was a Crew fan growing up because there wasn't an MLS team in Cincinnati. And then when FC Cincinnati came around, as soon as they came around, even though they were in the lower division, I stopped being a Crew fan. I didn't go to the games. I would turn down free tickets even. It was a 30-minute drive up to Columbus. I didn't like the stadium. I didn't like the vibe anymore. And I just didn't want to be a Crew fan.
Yeah.
And now I hate them after watching that game. The Caleb Porter, clapping thing, FC Cincinnati, isn't Columbus the defending damn champion of the league? I barely watched MLS.
Yeah, I don't know that information.
I'm pretty sure they're the defending champion. Anyway, they're one of the best teams last year. They're just outside the playoff picture, and you're waving at the FC Cincinnati crowd because you beat a bottom rung team that has one quality defender and one quality striker. And Yuya Kubo looks lost half the time when he's out there. I mean, there's so much disaster that goes on FC Cincinnati every week that them bragging like that and clipping our heels and sliding through the back of guys' legs and doing all that dirty crap they were doing when they're supposed to be.
Started to get chippy for sure in the second half, especially.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. But I could not believe that was one that they needed to be able to hold out and not draw. That felt like a loss because when you were up 2-0 and up a man and you can't even hold that enough. The first goal was I had to go watch a replay to figure out what happened. I could not see at all from my seats what happened. It looked like it was like a dead ball play, and then they started celebrating. There was a half pretend right outside the box flop, and so FC Cincinnati kind of stopped is this a foul? And then a great shot, but keeper couldn't see where the ball was coming from, and it just if that didn't happen before the half, I think we win 2-1.
Yeah.
But happening right before, I think it was in stoppage time or right before, that was a that killed the stadium too. We were kind of we were so confused as to what happened and how it happened that watching FC Cincinnati try to keep the momentum after that or score another goal, the offense was basically done after that point. So it was the defense trying to hold as much as they could. They could not do it for another half.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens to bad soccer teams. I mean, and that's okay. I love FC Cincinnati, and they're still so young in their development, and the league is growing so much at the top that they really came in at a horrific time. They were given the least amount of time of any expansion team. I don't think they were ready to do MLS type, team building yet. And we're seeing that, and that's okay. But just keep filling the stadium, keep cheering for them, because eventually they are going to piece it together. They'll have more time to build the academy. There's a lot of great soccer in Cincinnati. There's a lot of 13-year-olds when this team came around that are going to turn 17, 18 that want to play for FC Cincinnati, that are developing. They're going to have a chance to add people from abroad because it's such a great environment. It's going to grow. They'll be better. It's just going to take a lot of time because the league is really healthy at the top in terms of the talent. Lionel Messi has a clause in his contract. He has one release clause in a 5-year contract with Barcelona, and it's to the MLS. So that's the quality we're dealing with in Major League Soccer right now. And so we just kind of have to accept that we're not going to zoom to the top the way Portland did back in the early 2010s. It's going to be a process. There's going to be build, but they have to win games at home. That's the key to them being a successful franchise for the next 20 years. If they don't make the West End the best home field advantage in the league, they're going to be at a disadvantage in Major League Soccer, and it'll be a tough run to a championship.
And we're trying. FC Cincinnati fans are showing up. That is the best part about going to these games. And you have to figure out which game you're going to come in for, because I'm going to take you through my little loop that I do and meet up at Washington Park and march in with the Bailey, because it is the best sports experience that I've had in Cincinnati and going to any team game.
Yeah, man, I have Saturdays off, so maybe.
There you go.
We gotta do it. I gotta get down there.
Just
I've
a
been desperate.
quick 5 hour.
I've loved soccer. I grew up watching soccer in Germany. I would go over to Germany and I would go to soccer matches that were second division matches, and they were the best sporting environments I'd ever been in. And I'd been to NFL playoff games.
Dang.
Right now, an
Yeah.
NFL playoff game in Cincinnati is never a fun environment, especially since I've been alive. But a second tier game, soccer games are amazing, and now we have that in Cincinnati. It's incredible. And the Chicago Fire games are empty here because they have them in Soldier Field. You're not
Yeah.
going to get 60,000 people to watch a really bad, poor logo Chicago Fire team. So I really need to get to the West End, and once I do, I'm going to fall even more in love and get more angry every time Jeff Cameron is the only defender who knows anything about soccer, it seems.
Yep. Welcome to my life. Just start doing that in person, and you will lose sleep over it.
Yeah, but they just keep pushing. They'll get some few wins. Just stay out of the bottom of the table, flirt with the playoffs, and just keep adding talent, and it'll happen for FC Cincinnati.
Absolutely. I'm still semi hopeful with that. You're full hope with the Bengals. We're semi hope with the Reds. FC Cincinnati is all potential. We got Bearcats football coming up soon. We're gonna have a lot to talk about on the Coney for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah, and hopefully all good stuff. We'll see. There's going to be a year where Cincinnati has a year like Boston. Remember when Boston won everything? They even won like minor league baseball.
You think that Cincinnati is going to have that, where just every team, every league, every division just somehow has success for one season?
There is a dam of hope and success that's been held back by the strong thighs of Bo Jackson. And when that breaks,
that was a hell of a dam.
I know.
God, hell of a thighs.
When the ghost of Bo Jackson, who's still living,
throw that in parentheses.
When the ghost of Bo Jackson, who's still alive, lets go of that Bengals curse, it's going to be not just the Bengals started the curse, but when it happens for the whole city, it's going to be a flow of victories and celebrations and unbelievable success. And a lot of people who gave up are going to come back. I think by the end of the decade, Dan Patrick's going to be a Bengals fan again. You remember how he felt? He said, "I'm not a." I think by the end of this decade, I think Joe Burrow is going to make him a Bengals.
Joe Burrow's going to turn him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll end the show with this, with a message to Bo Jackson and his thighs. If you are watching the 3 a.m. Coney, I know that you're an avid listener and an avid fan. You don't miss an episode. So if you are listening right now, I know your thighs are tired. I know that dam is about to break. Just let the hope flow through. Cincinnatians have suffered enough.
Enough. My entire
Unclench your thighs and let Cincinnati breathe.
My entire childhood has been shaped by Cincinnati sports pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ready for those days to end. I really am. I
mean, we all are.
Hat behind me. Look how proudly I have Lay's sitting on a Bengals hat. Do you know? I coach kids during the day.
Yep.
And it's like a camp setting. And there's a camp of kids that I don't watch, and I don't really like to watch them because I wear my Bengals mask around. And in the city of Chicago, they are ruthless. that this 12-year-old's like, "Ooh, Bengals, when have you ever won anything? Why are you wearing that? That's so silly." And I'm just sitting here like, I wear a Joe Burrow jersey. People are like, "Who's Joe Burrow?"
Okay,
And
if you don't know who Joe Burrow is,
no,
you're just stupid. But I can understand a 12 or 13-year-old double his life. Bengals have not done anything. So
yeah, I get it. I understand, but it also is like, but I'm owning it. I'm wearing it. I will continue to. I'm a believer, and I can be the happiest guy in the world come November. So we'll see. A lot of Bengals stuff to get into. Training camp coming up. It's going to be fun.
so much. And we went double over what?
Yeah, I knew we would today.
That's all right. We're doing it every other week right now to keep the hope and happiness of Summer Lucas alive.
Yes, we need as much film of Summer Lucas as possible.
That's right. Remember, we'll show these clips. Remember the good times. Look how happy you are there.
Yeah. What's crazy though, if the Bengals are winning, I remember 2015 when they were 8-0. I was walking through a snowstorm with carrying like groceries, snow up to my knees, and I was like, the Bengals are 8-0. Like, what, like it was just that's what can happen come winter if Joe Burrow fulfills, what he's supposed to do.
Yep. And we'll see it. We'll see it happen. All right. That's all we got here on the 3 a.m. Coney. We will be back in 2 weeks and we will talk more Bengals and hopefully talk about how amazing the Reds have been and that they are going to be buyers.
Hopefully. If the next time we do this podcast,
yep,
they're sellers, stuff went way wrong.
Don't be chipping away at Happy Lucas now.
Yeah,
Don't be chipping away.
Well, if they get swept by the Brewers, Happy Lucas about the Reds is gone.
There you go. That's all right. They can still win the series. They got it. They got it here. They got it here. All right. Till next time.